Welcome to Blueprints Unsealed, a series of reflections and thought depicting the life and times of society's most influential people, ideas, and culture. In this segment, we reflect and face the harsh reality that a third major war is on the horizon. Join me today as we embark on one of my most sobering thoughts.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here. China has more than 200 confirmed cases of coronavirus, it's called, which produces pneumonia-like symptoms. 3 people have already died from this illness, which has spread to at least 3 other Asian countries.
Year 2020 will forever be remembered as the year that shook the world by its core. Mankind has faced its most deadliest threat, the likes that hasn't been seen in over a century. The coronavirus has claimed over 3 million lives worldwide and has wreaked havoc on the global economy. In efforts to reduce the spread of COVID-19, we witnessed governments shut down non-essential businesses, evoke curfews, and mandated the use of masks while in public spaces. In the beginning, people stood in solidarity with one another, united by common concern of well-being. At the same time, we watched helplessly as the virus quickly gained momentum, affecting the lives of every person in unimaginable ways. The moment of unity did not last long. Acts of kindness and rational behavior were quickly replaced with acts of desperation and self-interest. We witnessed nation turn against nation, states against states, neighbors against neighbors, friends against friends, and family divided amongst themselves. At the end of 2020, a message of hope that a vaccine had been developed was echoed with a sign of relief. Although it may appear that year 2021 promises to be the light at the end of a dark tunnel, may very well lead to a dead end.
Relations between the US and China soured to the point of no return. Chinese leaders threatened retaliation for the closure of its consulate in Texas. From trade to security and human rights, will the superpowers find room for compromise?
Relations between the US and China can best be described as complex, since we deal with each other on a multitude of fronts. For one, both nations are heavy trading partners. The U.S. is the #1 consumer of China exports, while China is currently the 3rd largest export market for U.S. goods, following behind Canada and Mexico. Over the years, the U.S. has created a trade deficit with China, and up until recently, China was the largest holder of U.S. debt for a long time. However, China has been accused of devaluing its currency in order to make goods more appealing to foreign buyers. As a consequence, the actual result of trade deficit is highly contested.
The US-China trade war, a controversial security law in Hong Kong, building in the South China Sea, to China's global infrastructure projects, there is undeniably a Cold War-like battle for influence on all fronts. And that includes space.
We're in a space race today, just as we were in the 1960s. And the stakes are even higher.
Next, we have the space rivalry between the US and China. The U.S. space program was created in response to the Soviet threat of launching satellites into orbit. In the same token, the Chinese space program resulted from their ballistic missile program that ultimately was created in response to the United States' threatening posture to use nuclear attacks on mainland China for their role in attacking Taiwan. Since then, the U.S. and Chinese relations had its ups and downs, but remained stable for the most part. However, in 2011, the National Security Council made their report public concerning China's unethical behavior. The report alleged that China misappropriated technical information obtained by U.S. companies that was intended for commercial satellite development, was used instead to improve China's intercontinental ballistic missile technology. Congress acted quickly and immediately passed laws that banned NASA from engaging in bilateral agreements in coordination with China. This ban on China also extended to the International Space Station, which members includes the US, Canada, Russia, and the members of the European Space Agency. In response, China has developed its own space station, approximately 1/5 the size of the ISS. China has already made many successful strides in space technology and research, including landing a rover successfully on the far side of the moon. Some experts contend that China may have an edge over the US in militarizing the regions of low orbit Earth, as well as the moon.
So the global trade story is increasingly also intersecting with the 5G story. Huawei's latest phone, 5G phone, I believe they cracked it open. No U.S. equipment in it. You're an expert in this arena. You were with Ericsson before Verizon. Does it look to you like we're headed for a 5G Cold War where you've got China-compatible 5G over here in China and elsewhere in the world, and you've got U.S.-compatible 5G over here?
Next is a rivalry between the US and China over 5G technology. This next generation technology promises to be a game changer, bringing forth unprecedented connectivity and technological advancement. Today, most smartphones uses 4G technology, which mainly includes mobile web access, IP telephone connectivity, and gaming services. 5G, in comparison to 4G, will have greater bandwidth, higher download speeds, and will include a much broader network capacity that will not be limited to just cell phones. It will also extend internet connection to cars, machines, cargo, and crop equipment. Where 4G network relies on macro cell towers, 5G networks will rely on a large number of micro networks using millimeter waves. The point of contention between the US and China falls on the final development and ultimate control of the 5G network. In 2018, Broadcom Ltd., which is based in Singapore, attempted a hostile takeover of Qualcomm, a wireless technology company that is engaged in the development, launch, and expansion of technologies like 5G. This attempt was quickly seized by the Trump administration, using an executive order to block the takeover, citing national security implications of trade policy. The U.S. expressed concerns that the hostile takeover would have negative consequences on the U.S. interest on 5G technology, and given the close ties of Broadcom's relationship with China, it only raises more eyebrows. Further exacerbating tensions surrounding 5G technology involves U.S. policy on banning telecommunications from being traded or shared between the U.S. and China. Back in 2019, Huawei, a prominent Chinese telecommunications company, licensed Google's Android mobile operating system. This deal put Huawei mobile services on a fast track to become a dominant figure in the mobile industry. However, because of U.S. policy, Google rescinded its licensing agreement, causing a major blow to Huawei's mobile sales in the U.S. Making matters worse, Meng Wanzhou, the CFO of Huawei, was arrested while in Canada under FBI directives while she awaits extradition to the U.S. to face charges of illegal Iran dealings. This move has created retaliatory treatment for Canadian businessmen abroad in China, including former diplomat Michael Kovrig and businessman Michael Spavor. They were both arrested on state security charges of spying. This has sent a chilling message to Canada, and businessmen now has to think twice about traveling abroad, even when the COVID pandemic is behind us. Huawei is cited as one of the major players in developing 5G, and each action taken by the U.S. threatens to put an end to Chinese dominance over 5G technology.
Yahoo's hack of over 500 million accounts would make it the biggest data breach ever.
Equifax, which, as you know, is a very large supplier of credit information, has announced a cybersecurity incident that they say potentially impacts about 143 million U.S. consumers.
Marriott announcing that up to 500 million guests with reservations at Starwood properties could have had their data compromised.
The next major war likely to take place will probably be something different than the conventional wars fought in the past. Today, the greatest vulnerabilities of a developed nation lies in its technology. We rely on power grids to distribute energy across the nation. Society rely on online banking for our financial needs. Hospitals rely on digital information and remote capabilities for life-saving procedures. Automated cars and go-to programs rely on satellites GPS. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Essentially, anything and everything that is vital to a society relies on energy and the safe transfer of digital information. Therefore, the most efficient way to engage in a war would be to launch cyber attacks against the opposition. These attacks can be launched remotely, using simple devices such as a laptop computer. When it comes to tensions between the US and China, both had targeted cyber attacks against each other, mainly for probing. But the potential for a cyber attack when technology is destroyed or rendered useless increases as the enemy learns your systems. The U.S. has accused Chinese state-sponsored hackers of targeting the U.S. defense industrial base, as well as commercial and businesses servers, including the hacking of Microsoft Exchange email servers. However, China has called out the U.S. over its NSA PRISM program, which essentially is a data tool designed to collect and process foreign intelligence that passes through American business service. In the end, experts agree that the U.S. will be most vulnerable to these cyber attacks since the vast majority of our infrastructure consists on digital data. Experts predict that the next major war is imminent. By studying tensions and conflicts leading up to both World War I and II, we can get a certain glimpse of certain attributes that were present. Today, we're starting to see an alarming rate of nations building small circles and reverting back to days of isolationism, coupled with a strong sense of national pride and proclaiming the well-being of one's nation above all others only deepens the divide. In the U.S., we watched as President Trump proclaimed America first on an international platform. Just as culpable, the Biden administration turned a deaf ear to Mexico as they desperately seek access to the COVID vaccine. In addition, we watched as the U.S., China, and Russia all attempt to develop the vaccination alone in solitude. This is very alarming. The fact that the world cannot come together to tackle a global pandemic is proof that all is not well. Even with trillions of dollars in relief efforts, the world's recovery looks weak. We are also on the cusp of global climate change. During the past decade, we've experienced an influx in extreme weather conditions that's already taken toll on some of the largest cities, from the large wildfires on the West Coast to deadly Category 3 hurricane that devastated the East Coast. Just recently, we witnessed the state of Texas. Winter temperature plunged from an average 75-degree weather to single digits overnight, completely rendering their energy grid useless. Perhaps in the end, with all these pressures mounting, it's clear that the scarcity of land and limited natural resources ultimately will lead to the fight of survival. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and share this video with a friend.